February 18th, 1945. Southern Germany. Elsa Bergmann could not close her legs. Not broken bones, not injury. Her body had consumed itself. 7 months below 900 calories a day. Muscle disappeared. Fat vanished. The body turned inward, eating what it needed to survive. 5 feet 4 inches tall. 89 pounds. Body mass index 15.3. The medical term, severe acute malnutrition. The human term, disappearing. She sat in the American truck, knees splayed, unable to bring them together. Captain Nathaniel Whitmore saw her the moment the canvas flap opened. 29 years old, Johns Hopkins trained. 3 years of war had taught him more about damage than any textbook. But this was different. 47 women, former nurses, radio operators, clerks attached to Luftwaffe airfields, thin coats meant for autumn, not the depths of winter. Hollowed faces that expected nothing, not cruelty, not kindness, just the next thing. Whitmore climbed into the truck. -5 Celsius inside, -18 outside. He stopped in front of Elsa. "Can you stand?" he asked in clumsy German. She tried, hands gripping metal, pushing, legs trembling, halfway up before her knees buckled. She fell back, breath coming in gasps. Whitmore knelt, did not touch her yet, studied her the way he studied all patients. Pulse visible in her neck, too rapid, breathing shallow, fingernails blue despite gloves. When she exhaled, her breath lingered too long in frozen air. "Wie lange?" How long? Elsa held up 7 fingers. 7 months of systematic starvation. Average weight loss, 46 pounds. Muscle wasting, organ stress, risk of cardiac arrest, risk of refeeding syndrome if treatment was not calibrated, risk of death from cold within 48 hours. This was Camp Feldberg, temporary holding facility, 4 barracks, 6 canvas tents. The war was ending, everyone knew it. But knowing and experiencing were different. The dying did not stop because the end was visible. Whitmore helped Elsa down. Her weight was nothing, like lifting a child. He set her on her feet, kept one hand on her elbow until certain she would not fall. Behind him, Sergeant Alistair Brennan organized prisoners into groups. 34, Irish farmer's son from Wisconsin. Logistics officer, who understood supply chains like scripture. Right now, calculating how many would die if temperature dropped another 10 degrees. The answer, all of them. They moved the women into the largest barracks, 47 into space designed for 30. Army wool blankets, scratchy, heavy, but better than issued ones. Not enough to go around, some got 2, some got 1, some shared. Elsa ended up near the broken stove, single blanket around shoulders, staring at the wall, not speaking. Not crying, just breathing, using minimum energy to continue existing. Whitmore made rounds, checked pulses, temperatures, listened to lungs, documented everything in a notebook, later donated to National Archives, box 1847. By evening, 3 women had fevers above 39 Celsius, 12 were coughing, 4 could not stand without help. Elsa's temperature, 35.2, pulse, 45. Blood pressure, 80/50, approaching shock. Whitmore returned to her bunk. She had not moved. "Elsa," he said. She turned slowly. Recognition took a moment. "Beruf?" Occupation. "Krankenschwester." Nurse. Whitmore stopped writing. She understood medicine. She had done this work. She knew what was happening to her body. He sat across from her. Protocol said do not. But protocol also said 1,800 calories was sufficient, and he had just documented 34 women with BMI below 16. "Erzählen Sie mir." Tell me. Elsa spoke slowly. Long pauses between sentences. July 1944. Field hospital nurse. 135 pounds. Healthy, strong, could lift patients, run when bombs fell. September 1944. Rations cut. 600 calories daily. Bread, watery soup. Losing 2 pounds weekly. then 3. December 1944. Transferred to Luftwaffe airfield, 102 pounds. Standing for long periods made her dizzy. Hands shook, threading sutures. February 1945. 89 pounds. Could not run, could not lift, could barely walk. When she tried closing her legs, they would not obey. The body fails in stages, she explained. Reserves first, then unnecessary functions. Menstruation stops, hair thins, skin fragments. The body calculates what is essential, what can be sacrificed. When she finished, she pulled a small glass jar from her coat, empty. Medicine bottle, label scraped off. Warum? Why keep it? Mich zu erinnern, to remember. She held the jar like someone holding a photograph of lost loved ones. The last jar I had when I could save someone, she said in halting English. October. William T. American pilot. Plane down. I find him. Bring to hospital.
Whitmore went still. William Thompson?
She nodded. Infection. Bad. We had no medicine. This jar. She held it up. Empty. He died. 3 days. He was my friend. Elsa looked at him. Really looked. For the first time, her eyes fully focused. She reached into her other pocket. Dog tags. American. Dented. Blood-stained. She held them out. I keep. To remember. He was good man. Kind. Even dying, he say thank you. I could not save. But I remember. Whitmore took the tags. William T. Thompson. Blood type O positive. Protestant. The metal was cold. He closed his fingers around them. The distance between enemy and human collapsed, not because of philosophy or politics, but because a 19-year-old German nurse had kept dog tags of an American pilot she could not save, had carried them through months of starvation, retreat, capture, had kept them when keeping anything was defiance against daily erosion of humanity. Thank you, Whitmore said. Elsa nodded, put the empty jar back in her pocket, pulled the blanket tighter, closed her eyes. Outside, temperature dropped, -20 Celsius. Wind cut through gaps in barracks walls. Women wrapped themselves in whatever they had. Elsa did not move. Back against wall, empty jar in pocket, thinking about the last time she had been warm. July 1944. Mother's kitchen. Bread baking. Sun through window, mother saying, "You'll make a good doctor someday, Elsa. You have the hands for it." She looked at her hands now, skeletal, blue-tinged, shaking, not doctor's hands, hands of someone disappearing, but still, she held them forward, flexed fingers. They moved, slowly, stiffly, but they moved. She thought about William Thompson, how he smiled with 40-degree fever, how he asked her name, how he said thank you. She thought about the American doctor who asked her name, who listened, who looked at her like she was person, not number. She thought about the jar, empty now, but once it held medicine, held possibility of saving someone. One day, she thought, one day I will fill this jar again. Small thought, quiet, barely formed, but there. And in a barracks full of women who had stopped hoping beyond next sunrise, a small thought was not nothing. The night deepened. Temperature continued falling. In 72 hours, Captain Nathaniel Whitmore would make a decision violating 3 military regulations and potentially ending his career. But that night, he did what doctors do. Monitored patients, recorded vitals, noted that Elsa Bergman, age 19, nurse, BMI 15.3, had resting heart rate 45 and core temperature 0.8 degrees below normal. Noted she spoke English haltingly but understood medical terminology. Noted she carried empty medicine jar and dog tags of man she tried saving. Noted she was, despite everything, still alive. And in brutal mathematics of war, alive was enough to build on. Night fell heavy. Temperature inside dropped to -7, outside -22. Frost formed on interior walls. At 0200, Elsa began shaking. Not small tremors that had become constant, violent, uncontrollable, teeth chattering, muscles contracting in waves. Rigors. Body attempting to generate heat through movement, consuming last reserves of energy. Greta Hoffmann, next bunk, heard first. 28 years old, former radio operator, mother of 4-year-old son not seen since October. She touched Elsa's forehead. Gott im Himmel! Burning. Greta called for the guard. Private Collins ran for medical barracks. Whitmore arrived 7 minutes later. Field kit and kerosene lamp. Lamplight threw shadows across walls. He knelt beside Elsa. Thermometer. 39.2 Celsius. High enough to be dangerous. Pulse. 94. Up from 45. Blood pressure. 70/45. Down. Dangerously down. He placed hand on her forehead. Heat immediate and intense. Lifted eyelids. Sclera slightly yellow. Jaundice. Liver struggling. Elsa, can you hear me? Her eyes opened, unfocused, then locking onto his face. Calculations. Fever of this magnitude in severely malnourished patient. Pneumonia, tuberculosis, sepsis. Body's immune system barely functional. Anything could kill her. He opened field kit, limited supplies, sulfanilamide tablets, morphine, bandages, 1 vial quinine, no IV fluids, no antibiotics beyond sulfanilamide. I need hot water, he said to Greta, and more blankets. Within minutes, Elsa was covered with 5 blankets. Whitmore crushed sulfanilamide tablets, mixed with water, held cup to her lips. Trinken! She tried. Most spilled. He tilted her head back, poured slowly. She swallowed, coughed, swallowed again. Rigors continued. 2 hours. Gradually subsided as her body exhausted itself. Temperature remained high, but stable. At 0400, she opened eyes fully. Doctor? Ja. Ich sterbe? Am I dying? Asked without emotion. Clinical inquiry. Nurse to doctor. Whitmore considered lying. Decided against it. Not if I can help it. Elsa's mouth twitched. Might have been smile. That is, not answer. No, it's not. She slept then. Real sleep. Fever broken enough for body to stop fighting and start recovering. Morning. Lieutenant William Davis arrived for briefing. 32, West Point, by-the-book officer who believed regulations existed for good reasons. Silver Star from Normandy. Decent, competent, utterly convinced following procedure prevented chaos. He read Whitmore's report, set it down. You want to increase rations to 2,400 calories. Yes, sir. Regulation is 1,800. Regulation is designed for healthy prisoners. These women are not healthy. 34 have BMI below 16. Severe acute malnutrition. They need refeeding, carefully controlled, medically supervised. One case of fever doesn't justify 50% increase for 47 prisoners. With respect, sir, it's not one case. All 47 are at risk. Compromised immune systems, compromised cardiovascular systems. Without intervention, multiple deaths within 2 weeks. We're following Geneva Convention protocols. Geneva Convention guarantees adequate nutrition. 1,800 calories is not adequate for someone whose body has been consuming itself 7 months. Davis was quiet. Not cruel, not indifferent, but responsible for camp with limited supplies, uncertain supply chain. War in final months, but final months still meant shortages. Priorities, choosing who got what. I'll submit request up chain, but don't expect approval. We're prioritizing frontline units. Prisoner rations won't increase without direct orders from division. How long? 2 weeks, maybe 3. 2 weeks might as well be 2 years. Understood, sir. When Davis left, Whitmore sat alone, looked at supplies, at notes. Did the math doctors do when deciding how far they're willing to go? Regulation said 1,800. Medicine said 2,400. He made his choice at 07:15, February 19th. Supply depot. Told Brennan he needed medical supplies. Soup mix. Powdered eggs. condensed milk, vitamin tablets. Brennan, who understood supply chains and when not to ask questions, made it happen. "This is off book," Brennan said quietly, loading crate. "You know that." "I know." "Davis finds out it's your career." "I know that too." Brennan looked at him, nodded. "How much do you need?" "Enough to keep 47 women from dying." Brennan understood. Red Ball Express transported 12,500 tons daily. 0.02% was 5,000 pounds weekly. Could be recorded as damaged, misplaced, delivered wrong. Logistics of compassion were as complex as logistics of war. Elsa woke at 1000. Fever further broken. 37.8, almost normal. Hollowed out, empty, but aware. Whitmore sat across from her, metal cup in hands, steam rising. Smell reached her first. Soup. Real soup. Something with substance. Sie sind Arzt?" This time fully conscious, needed the answer. "Ja, I'm a doctor." Tears ran down her face, silent, steady. Because for 7 months no one had treated her like patient. She had been worker, prisoner, number, but not patient. And patient was someone who mattered enough to be saved. He handed her the cup. "Langsam, slowly. Your stomach needs time." She took it with shaking hands. First sip almost painful. Body had forgotten warmth, salt, fat, protein. She wanted to drink it all, but forced herself, small sips, waiting between each. "Danke." Whitmore pulled clean paper from pocket, handed it to her with pencil. "Draw. Show me what you need." She began drawing, hands unsteady but shapes clear. Human figure. Arrows pointing to heart, lungs, stomach, liver. Beside each, symptoms in German. Schwach, weak. Schmerz, pain. Langsam, slow. Visual medical charting. She was not just describing symptoms, she was mapping her body's collapse. Then a new drawing. Airplane falling. Fire. Figure on ground. Medical cross. Jar. Empty. Beside it, October. William T. But this one had timeline. October 10th. William in hospital, October 11th. Empty jar, October 14th. Cross, grave marker, October 14th. Below, Ich konnte nicht helfen, keine Medizin. I could not help, no medicine. Dog tags she kept, empty jar. Not just mementos, reminders of failure, of moment when being nurse meant nothing because medicine required more than knowledge, required supplies, resources, things no longer existing. "You did everything you could," Whitmore said quietly. She shook her head. "Not enough. Sometimes it's not." She looked at him, searching. "You understand?" "Yes." He told her about Normandy, operating with shells landing close. Soldier named Martinez with shrapnel in chest, needing thoracotomy. Whitmore was not skilled enough to perform. How Martinez died on table while Whitmore's hands were inside his chest, trying to clamp artery he could not see clearly in dim light. How he still saw Martinez's face. Still heard, "Am I going to make it, Doc?" Still felt moment when heartbeat under fingers stopped. "So yes, I understand." Elsa nodded, picked up pencil, drew one more thing. 2 hands, one labelled EB, one labelled NW. Between them, jar, half full. She looked at him. Together? Not just about medical collaboration, about redemption, about whether 2 people who failed to save someone could save each other by saving others. "Yes," Whitmore said, "together." Over next 5 days, something shifted. Whitmore came twice daily, morning, evening, brought real soup, powdered eggs mixed with water, condensed milk, 1 tablespoon per person, vitamin tablets crushed into food, and paper. Elsa became his translator, assistant, bridge to other women. Could not stand long, could not lift, could not do physical nursing work, but could communicate, explain, draw diagrams showing what was happening to bodies, what treatment plan was. Women listened to her differently than Whitmore, because she was one of them, spoke their language. understood what it meant to lie in cold barracks, wondering if tomorrow would come. Greta Hoffmann began gaining weight, 2 pounds in 5 days. Face filled slightly, deep hollows under eyes less pronounced. But something was bothering Greta. Whitmore noticed how she clutched a letter, stared at photograph of small boy. On February 24th, Elsa sat beside Greta. "Tell me about Klaus." Greta looked at photograph.
4-year-old, blonde hair, bright eyes.
"I sent him to countryside, October. Bombing was bad in city. I thought, safer. But then I was arrested, transferred. I do not know where he is, if he lives, if someone feeds him." Elsa took Greta's hand. "What if we find out?" "How?" "Dr. Whitmore has contacts, military, Red Cross. What if we ask?" That evening, Elsa approached Whitmore with the photograph, explained. He looked at little Klaus's face. "I'll try," he said. "No promises. Promise to try is enough." Whitmore contacted Red Cross through Brennan's logistics channels, provided Klaus Hoffmann's information, 4 years old. Last known location, village outside Munich. Mother, Greta Hoffmann, prisoner at Camp Feldberg. Meanwhile, not all women were improving. 4 remained static, temperatures elevated, weight unchanged, all older, late 30s to mid-40s, all in captivity longer, all with underlying health issues predating capture. Cruel mathematics of triage.
Some patients responded, some did not.
One was Hilda Schaefer, 52, former clerk. She stopped eating on March 5th. Not dramatically, just held soup bowl, did not lift it, set it down untouched. Elsa spent that evening beside Hilda's bunk, did not speak at first, just sat. When Hilda finally acknowledged her, slight turn of head, Elsa talked about her mother. She was teacher, English teacher, loved English poets, Wordsworth, Keats, read them to me at night. I did not understand all words, but understood feeling. Hilda listened. She died in 1943, bombing raid. I was at hospital, could not come home. When I came 3 days later, house was gone, just stones. I found her glasses, only thing left. She pulled wire-rimmed spectacles from pocket, bent, one lens cracked, set them on blanket between them. I keep because I need to remember. Remember she was real. Remember I am her daughter. Remember I have duty to her. To live well. Use what she taught.
Hilda touched glasses gently.
My son, Heinrich, killed in Russia, 1943. 19. I am sorry. Same age as you, same eyes, same hopefulness. He thought war would be glory, then letters stopped being excited, then stopped. Silence. I worked for them, Hilda said. The Reich. Typed reports for munitions factory, numbers, shells produced, shipped, used. Typed numbers that became bombs that killed people, maybe killed your mother, maybe killed my son. But I typed them. You were clerk. I was part of machine, small part, but machine works because all parts work. I did not refuse. Now I am here. Heinrich dead, your mother dead. I am not sure why I should keep living when living means remembering. Elsa picked up mother's glasses, held them to light. Cracked lens split lamplight into fragments. My mother taught me something. English word, duty. German, Pflicht. Not same. Duty is external. Someone tells you. But Pflicht is internal. What you owe yourself, your conscience.
I do not understand.
You had duty to factory. You obeyed. But what is your Pflicht now? What do you owe yourself? I do not know. Then discover. Cannot discover if dead. She held out soup bowl, cold now. Eat, not for Reich, not for Germany, for Hilda Schaefer, woman who loved son, who typed because she had no choice, who survived. Eat because you deserve to discover what comes next. Hilda looked at bowl, at Elsa, at broken glasses. Slowly she took bowl, lifted to lips, drank. All of it. Tomorrow, she said, I will eat tomorrow also. When Whitmore made evening rounds, Greta told him what happened. He looked at Elsa differently, not as patient, not even as assistant, as colleague.
March 7th, night.
Elsa could not sleep. PTSD had not vanished. Trauma did not disappear with treatment, just became manageable. She heard voices outside. Frida's bunk, empty. She rose. Coat, blanket, moved to door. Outside, temperature had risen. -8, almost warm. Followed voices, around barracks. 2 figures in shadow, Frida and Whitmore. 17 Allied prisoners, Frida was saying in English, accented but clear. I helped escape between 1942 and 1944. British, American, 1 French. I kept records, names, units. Why? Because I did not believe. In Reich, in Hitler. My husband was member of Weiße Rose, White Rose, resistance group, students, professors, distributed pamphlets against regime, arrested 1943, executed. I continued his work, small work, what I could do as secretary, had access to prisoner transport schedules, supply manifests, used what I had. Why tell me? Because you need to know. Not all of us believed. Some fought, quietly.
In small ways, some died for it. Papers rustling.
These are names. 17 men. If they lived, they confirm my story. If they died, at least there is record. Elsa's foot moved. Small sound on frozen ground. Both turned. Elsa, Frida said, not angry, acknowledging. Ich wusste nicht. I did not know. I made sure you did not. You were 19. Young. If they questioned you, you could tell nothing. Safer. You protected me. Of course. Elsa stepped closer, looked at papers in Whitmore's hands. Why never tell me? Because hope is dangerous. If you hoped someone was fighting and that person was arrested, hope would destroy you. Better no hope than hope taken away. But I had hope anyway. Then you are stronger than I thought. Frida smiled slightly. And I thought you were strong. Whitmore studied papers. If this is true, it is. When intelligence officers verify, I will be processed differently, not as prisoner, as intelligence asset, maybe ally. I tell you because Elsa needs someone when I transfer. I do not need... Yes, Frida said firmly, you do. You are brilliant, compassionate, entirely too willing to sacrifice yourself. Someone must ensure you survive. If not me, then Dr. Whitmore. Elsa looked at Whitmore. He looked back. Unspoken agreement. I'll make sure. Frida nodded. To Elsa. I was afraid. Afraid if you knew what I did, you would try same. They would catch you. I would lose you like I lost my husband. So I said nothing. Kept you ignorant. Kept you safe. You kept me alive. Yes, now you keep others alive. That is how resistance works. Not always guns or bombs. Sometimes refusing to let people die. Refusing to stop being human when world insists humanity is weakness. She touched Elsa's face. You do that work now. Continue. Promise. I promise. Next morning, Frida transferred to Munich. Before leaving, she found Elsa. Pressed something into her hand. Ring. Simple gold band. My husband's. He would want you to have it. He believed in young people. In future. You are future. Now. Then gone. That afternoon, news came through Brennan's channels. Klaus Hoffmann, 4 years old, located in village outside Munich, safe, living with elderly couple, well-fed, healthy. When Whitmore told Greta, she collapsed in his arms, not from weakness, from relief so profound it unmade her. She sobbed for 10 minutes straight, first time anyone had seen her cry. My boy, she kept saying, my boy lives. Later she found Elsa, hugged her. You did this. You asked. Dr. Whitmore did it. Because you asked. Thank you. By mid-March, Elsa weighed 101 pounds, 12 pounds gained in 4 weeks. Face fuller. Could walk without vision tunneling. Could stand for 20-minute periods. She kept detailed records now, notebook of scavenged paper bound with string, 47 names, daily weights, symptoms, progress, setbacks. She and Whitmore developed protocol. Week 1 to 2, 1200 to 1500 calories. Week 3 to 4, 1800 to 2000. Week 5-8, 2200. Monitoring, adjusting, vitamin supplements, phosphate careful tracking. Elsa was not just translating, she was diagnosing, suggesting, making decisions. One evening, Whitmore gave her his stethoscope. "Listen to Greta's lungs, tell me what you hear." Elsa placed it carefully, listened. Crackles, left lower lobe. But better than yesterday. Agreed. What would you do? Continue current antibiotics. Monitor. If fever develops, increase. Exactly what I would do. He looked at her.
Elsa, you're not my assistant anymore. You're my colleague.
She smiled. First genuine smile. Not yet, but someday, when jar is full again. She pulled empty jar from pocket. They had been collecting it. Vitamin tablets. Not full yet, but filling. Someday, Whitmore agreed, but neither knew how soon that day would come, or how much it would cost. Week 9, mid-April 1945. Elsa weighed 107 pounds, 18 pounds gained, BMI 17.3, within range of survival. Face had color, arms had definition. She could walk entire camp without resting, could work 6-hour shifts helping Whitmore with medical rounds. But something was wrong. April 14th, evening rounds. Elsa felt strange, not sick, not weak, just off. Heart rhythm irregular, hands tingling, vision occasionally blurring. She said nothing. They were so close. War was ending. Reports came daily. Berlin surrounded. Hitler's bunker under siege. Days, maybe weeks left. She could hold on.
April 15th. 0300.
Elsa woke with chest pain, sharp, radiating down left arm, heart pounding irregularly. Boom, boom, pause, boom, pause, pause, boom, boom, boom. She tried standing. Legs gave out. She fell, hit floor hard. Greta woke. "Elsa!" Whitmore arrived in 4 minutes. One look told him everything. Pulse, 130, irregular, skipping beats. Blood pressure, 90/60. Too low for heart racing this fast. Skin, pale, clammy, cold, despite fever of 37.9. He lifted her eyelids. Pupils reactive but sluggish. "Elsa, when did this start?" "Yesterday. Did not want to worry." He closed his eyes briefly, opened them, went into pure medical mode. "This is refeeding syndrome. Your electrolytes are critically imbalanced. Phosphate, magnesium, potassium, all depleted. Your heart cannot maintain normal rhythm. You need IV replacement, immediately." "Transfer to hospital?" "Yes, but nearest hospital is 20 miles. Transport in your condition could cause cardiac arrest and—" He did not finish, but Elsa understood. Transfer meant exposing his violations, every unauthorized ration, every off-book medical supply. Davis would have no choice but to court-martial him. "What if—" "No transfer," she asked. "Elsa, what if you treat here? You have IV fluids, phosphate, magnesium. I have minimal supplies. If something goes wrong, if you arrest, I cannot resuscitate properly. You could die." She looked at him, 19 years old, 107 pounds, finally approaching safety, finally filling the jar. "If I transfer, they court-martial you. Your career ends. All this," she gestured at barracks, at other women sleeping, "ends. They send you away. No one continues care. Others may die. Your life is not worth my career." "Maybe not, but 47 lives are, and I am one of 47. She gripped his hand. "I trust you. Treat me here." "Elsa." "Nathaniel."
First time she used his first name.
"I trust you. Please." He looked at her hand gripping his, at her eyes, clear, certain, unafraid. At 19 years old, making an impossible choice. "All right," he said, "but we do this my way, completely. You follow every instruction." "Yes, doctor." He worked through the night. Started 1-5 line, difficult with her collapsing veins. Finally got it on 4th attempt. Began slow infusion of phosphate. Too fast would cause more problems. Had to be calibrated, drop by drop. Monitored heart rhythm. Still irregular but not worsening. Blood pressure holding at 90/60. Not good but stable. By 0600, her heart rhythm had improved slightly. Still skipping beats but less frequently. By 0800, she was conscious enough to speak. Am I dying? Not today. Good, have too much work. Despite everything, she made him smile. But crisis was not over.
April 16th. Temperature outside dropped precipitously, front moving through, -28 Celsius. Coldest night since February. Elsa needed warmth, needed controlled environment, needed equipment Whitmore did not have. He went to Davis. Laid out situation. I need heaters, medical grade, and backup generator. Patient in critical condition. Which patient? Elsa Bergman. Davis looked at him. The nurse who's been helping you? Yes. Captain, I've been patient. I've looked the other way, but this is getting out of hand. You're requesting equipment that requires authorization from division. She'll die without it. Then transfer her to hospital. Transport will kill her. Then you're out of options. Davis was not being cruel. He was being realistic. They had pushed boundaries as far as possible. There were limits. Whitmore left, went to barracks, sat beside Elsa's bunk, her IV still running. Heart rhythm better, but not normal. Phosphate levels slowly correcting, but not corrected. She opened her eyes. Problem? We need equipment I cannot get through proper channels. She understood immediately. So get it through improper channels. Elsa, you have been breaking rules for weeks. Why stop now? Because this is different. This is theft of major equipment. This is court-martial certainty. She looked at him, at this man who had saved 47 women by refusing to follow regulations that would have killed them. Then I make it easy, she said. You do not do this for me. You do it for 47. Because if I die, others lose hope, lose belief that recovery is possible. My death kills more than me. It was manipulation. They both knew it. But it was also true. Besides, she added, you promised. Together. Remember? Jar half full. Not finished yet. Whitmore looked at empty jar on her bedside. Not empty anymore. They had been filling it. Vitamin tablets one by one.
Almost 3/4 full now. All right, he said, but I'm doing this alone. Brennan doesn't need to risk his career too. No, Brennan's voice came from doorway. I'm coming. Whitmore turned. Brennan stood there, having heard everything. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Because you're right. She's right. We've come this far. We don't stop 3 yards from end zone. They planned for midnight. Storage depot on east side of camp. 2 medical heaters. 1 portable generator. Small enough to move quickly, but sufficient to keep barracks temperature above freezing. Simple plan. Brennan had keys to depot, legitimate, part of logistics duties. Whitmore would load equipment, 5 minutes in and out. What they did not plan for was Davis doing late-night inspection.
Midnight, April 16th, -28 Celsius.
Brennan opened depot lock. Whitmore moved inside, located heaters, started loading first one onto cart. Footsteps outside. Both froze. Davis appeared in doorway, service pistol in hand, not aimed, but ready. Captain Whitmore, Sergeant Brennan, step away from the equipment. Neither moved. That's an order. Sir, Whitmore said carefully, I have a patient dying from cold exposure. This equipment will save her life. Then request it through proper channels. I did. You denied it. Because it requires division authorization, which you don't have. What you're doing is theft of military property. I can't ignore this. Then don't ignore it. Court-martial me tomorrow, but let me take this equipment tonight. Captain. She's 19 years old. She's a nurse. She saved American lives. She weighs 107 pounds, and her heart is failing because I didn't manage her refeeding properly. I failed her.
Let me fix my failure. Davis's pistol did not waver. And what happens when Division finds this equipment missing? When they investigate? When they court-martial me for allowing it? Tell them I stole it. Tell them you didn't know. I'll confirm your story. You think they'll believe that? No, but it gives you deniability. Davis was quiet, pistol still in hand. Whitmore could see the calculation happening. Officer who followed rules his entire career, who believed in protocol, who had learned in Normandy that sometimes rules kept you alive, but who had also learned that sometimes rules killed people who didn't need to die. The moment stretched. Then sound from outside. Movement. Elsa appeared in doorway. She should not have been able to stand, should not have been able to walk, but she was there, IV line pulled out, blood dripping from arm, leaning against doorframe, barely upright. Elsa, Whitmore started. She held up one hand, looked at Davis. Shoot me, she said in English, heavily accented but clear. Not him. I am problem. I ask for equipment. I convince him. I am thief. Shoot me. Then her legs buckled. She started falling. Whitmore caught her before she hit ground, lowered her gently. She was burning up, fever spiking from exertion, heart racing erratically. Damn it, Elsa, he said, but his voice broke. Davis looked at them, at a young woman who had pulled out her own IV, walked through -28-degree cold, offered to take bullet meant for others. At doctor holding her, trying to keep her alive. At 46 other women in barracks who had been dying in February and were living in April. He lowered his pistol. I didn't see anything, he said, voice rough. I was doing inspection on west side of camp, nowhere near depot. You understand? Sir, I have a daughter. Davis's voice cracked. Had. Emma, 16, died 1944. Pneumonia. Hospital said they couldn't spare medicine for civilians. Military patients only. I followed those orders, believed in them. She died because I followed orders. He looked at Elsa. I won't make that mistake again. He walked away, left them in the depot, left the door open, left them to save a life. They carried Elsa back to barracks. Reinstalled 1-5, fifth attempt before successful. Set up heaters, generator running quietly outside. Temperature in barracks rose from -5 to +8 Celsius. Other women woke, saw what was happening. Greta brought extra blankets. Hilda made tea. Frida's replacement, younger woman named Anna, held Elsa's hand. You are foolish, Greta said to Elsa. Yes. You could have died. Yes. Why? Elsa looked at Whitmore. Because he would have done same for me. She was right. He would have. 48 hours later, Elsa's heart rhythm stabilized. Phosphate levels corrected. Fever broke. She woke fully conscious, coherent, and furious. Do not ever, she said to Whitmore, make me choose between your career and my life again. Then don't ever make me watch you nearly die again. Deal. They shook hands. Professional. Formal. But both were smiling. May 7th, 1945. Radio crackled in Davis's office. Announcement. Germany surrendered. War in Europe over. Effective midnight. Camp erupted in celebration. Soldiers cheering. Equipment honking. Fireworks somewhere in distance. In barracks, women were quieter. Processing. Germany had lost. Their country had lost. But they had lived. May 8th. Processing began. 47 women evaluated for return. Most would go home. Some needed extended medical care. None would be charged with war crimes. They had been support staff, not soldiers, not decision-makers. Elsa was cleared for return. 107 pounds. Heart function normal. Prognosis, excellent. Whitmore found her on last evening. She was sitting outside looking at stars. Tomorrow you leave? Yes. What will you do? She pulled out empty jar, not empty anymore, full of vitamin tablets. I will go to Munich. I will apply to medical school. I will become doctor, real doctor, with authority and credentials and ability to save people. You're already a doctor, Elsa. You saved Hilda. You saved Greta's sanity. You saved yourself. Maybe. But I want to save more. Want to fill this jar every day for rest of life. She held it up. Moonlight made vitamins glow. Nathaniel, thank you for seeing me. Not as prisoner, not as enemy, as patient, as person, as colleague. Thank you for teaching me what medicine is really about. Not protocol, not regulations, but seeing people. She stood, took off Mother's glasses from pocket, handed them to him. Keep these. Remember my mother. Remember English poetry. Remember that knowledge without compassion is just knowledge. Elsa, please, is important. He took them. Bent, wire-rimmed glasses with cracked lens. Would keep them for 30 years. Would look at them whenever he doubted himself. Then Elsa did something unexpected. She drew one more picture. Two hands reaching toward each other, not quite touching. Space between them filled with tiny figures. Patience. Between the hands she wrote, "Das ist Medizin." This is medicine. She gave it to Whitmore. Remember. May 9th, 1945. Trucks arrived. Women loaded. Final count, 47 entered Camp Feldberg in February. 47 left in May. 100% survival rate in facility that had been designed to fail them. As truck pulled away, Elsa looked back, saw Whitmore standing beside barracks, raised her hand, he raised his, then she was gone. 30 years later, Geneva, Switzerland. International Medical Conference. September 1975. Dr. Nathaniel Whitmore, age 64, retired Johns Hopkins professor, walked through conference center. Name tag, keynote speaker, medical ethics in crisis conditions. Someone called his name, woman's voice, German accent. He turned. Dr. Elsa Bergman, age 50, Munich University Hospital, specialist in pediatric malnutrition. 53 published papers, 12 medical awards, legend in her field. They stared at each other. Nathaniel? Elsa? They embraced. She was healthy, strong, hair grey at temples, but eyes same, sharp, intelligent, compassionate. I heard you were speaking, she said. I had to come. 30 years. Yes, long time, but I have thought of you often. Every patient, every child I save, I remember. They found coffee, sat, talked for 3 hours. She told him about medical school, 1946 to 1950, graduated top of class. About choosing pediatrics because children reminded her of hope. About specializing in malnutrition because she understood it intimately. How many, he asked, children saved? Yes. She pulled out notebook, always documenting, always tracking. 1,247, as of last month. Whitmore's eyes widened. Elsa is not enough, will never be enough, but is more than zero. She reached into bag, pulled out glass jar, same jar, not filled with vitamins anymore, filled with soil. From every place I worked, hospital in Munich, clinic in Berlin, refugee camp in Austria, I collect soil. Reminder that medicine happens everywhere, not just hospitals, not just with perfect equipment, but wherever doctors refuse to give up. She handed it to him. This was empty when you found me. You helped fill it. Now I give it to you, because you are reason it was filled. Whitmore took jar, felt weight of 30 years of soil from 30 years of saving children. What's the soil from? He asked. Places where medicine happened, where I happened, where I remembered you in Camp Feldberg and refeeding protocol we developed. That protocol, Whitmore-Bergman protocol they call it now in textbooks. Do you know it saved thousands? Not just my patients, thousands worldwide. Post-war malnutrition, famine relief, refugee medicine. I didn't know they named it that. Of course, you developed it. I documented it. Together, like we said. She pulled out second item, leather journal, worn, spine cracked from use. My diary, February to May 1945, 189 pages, German and English. Every day, every patient, every moment. I am donating to Munich Medical Archive next month, but I wanted you to see first. He opened it, her handwriting, shaky in early pages, stronger in later ones. Detailed medical notes, sketches, calculations. February 18th. Dr. Whitmore asks my name. First time in 7 months someone asks my name. March 14th. Filled half jar, beginning to believe. April 16th. Nearly died. Doctor saved me. Not just with medicine, with refusal to give up. May 8th. War ends. We survived. 47 of 47. Miracle is not right word. Work is right word. Keep it, Elsa said. Copy is in Munich. Original should be with you. Elsa, I can't. You can. You must. Because this, she tapped journal, is your story too. Our story. Story of medicine done right. Not perfectly, but right. 23 years later. Munich, Germany. Medical Archive. October 1998. Dr. Elsa Bergman, age 73, officially donated entire collection to archive. Original diary, all research papers, correspondence with Whitmore spanning 53 years, medical records, anonymized, of 1,247 pediatric patients, television cameras present, documentary being filmed, The Doctor Who Refused to Die, Elsa Bergman's story. Interviewer asked, Dr. Bergman, you've saved over 1,200 children in 50-year career. What motivated you? Elsa held up jar, still filled with soil. This, she said, this was empty in 1945. I was 19. I weighed 89 pounds. I carried it as reminder of failure, of American pilot I could not save. She paused, collected herself. Then American doctor saw me, not as enemy, not as prisoner, as patient, as person. He refused to let me die, against regulations, against orders, against rules that said I was not worth saving. He taught me that medicine is not about rules, is about seeing, about refusing, about the stubborn insistence that death is not inevitable until it becomes so. So I filled this jar. Every day, every patient, every refusal to give up. And now, 53 years later, jar is full. But work is not done. Because the question is not, how many lives did I save? The question is, how many train cars full of people are sitting on tracks right now, waiting for someone to break regulations to save them? She looked directly at camera. That is the question. That is always the question. 3 years later. Munich, November 2001. Dr. Elsa Bergman passed away peacefully, age 76, surrounded by daughter Anna and 3 grandchildren. Funeral attended by hundreds. Doctors she trained, patients she saved, colleagues worldwide. Dr. Nathaniel Whitmore, age 90, too frail to travel, sent video message. Elsa Bergman was not just colleague, not just friend. She was reminder of what medicine should be. In 1945, she weighed 89 pounds and carried empty jar. She told me one day she would fill it. She did. Every day for 56 years. But more than that, she taught me that the space between regulation and compassion is where real medicine happens, where real humanity happens. She lived in that space, thrived in it, made it holy ground. We saved 47 women in 1945, but Elsa saved 1,247 children. And each of those children will save others, and those others will save more. That is Elsa's legacy. Not numbers, but refusal. Refusal to accept that some lives matter less. Refusal to follow orders that kill. Refusal to stop being human when world insists humanity is weakness. Goodbye, Elsa. The jar is full, but your work continues in every doctor who refuses to give up, in every patient who fights to live, in every person who sees another person and chooses compassion over convenience. Thank you for teaching me how to see. Epilogue. Minnesota Historical Society, 2024. Glass Case. Exhibition. Medicine in Crisis, World War II. Inside case. Glass jar filled with soil. Label. Dr. Elsa Bergman, 1945 to 2001. Places where medicine happened. Wire-rimmed glasses. One cracked lens. Label. Belonged to Elsa's mother. Kept through war. Represents knowledge passed between generations. Leather journal. Open to page dated February 18, 1945. Elsa's handwriting. Dr. Whitmore asks my name. Medical protocol document. Title. Whitmore-Bergman Refeeding Protocol, 1955. Standard treatment for severe malnutrition. Dog tags. William T. Thompson. Label. Returned to Thompson family, 1976. Donated to museum by Thompson's daughter, 2003. Photograph. 1975. Elsa and Whitmore at Geneva Conference. Both smiling. Caption. Reunion, 30 years after Camp Feldberg. Placard text. Between February and May 1945, Dr. Nathaniel Whitmore and nurse Elsa Bergman developed refeeding protocol that saved 47 German prisoners at Camp Feldberg. Protocol violated 14 military regulations, could have ended Whitmore's career. Instead, it became standard medical practice, saving thousands worldwide. This is not story of hero and victim. It is story of two medical professionals who refused to let regulations determine who deserved to live. Dr. Bergman went on to save 1,247 children in 50-year career. When asked about motivation, she held up jar and said, "It was empty. Then someone helped me fill it. Now I fill it every day. Because the question is not how many I saved. The question is, how many train cars full of people are sitting on tracks right now, waiting for someone brave enough to break rules to save them?" That question remains unanswered. That question is always unanswered. Until someone answers it. School group walks through museum. Teacher stops at case, points to jar. This was owned by Dr. Elsa Bergman. She was German prisoner of war who became one of world's leading pediatric specialists. She was 19 when American doctor saved her life. She spent next 56 years saving others. Student asks, "Why soil in jar?" Teacher smiles. Because medicine doesn't happen in perfect hospitals with perfect equipment. It happens anywhere someone refuses to let another person die. The soil represents all those places. Reminds us that medicine is not about buildings. It's about choice, about seeing people. What's the most important thing in this case? Teacher considers. Points to photograph of Elsa and Whitmore, both old, both smiling, both alive. That. Proof that sometimes breaking rules is the most human thing you can do, and that humanity survives even in darkest winter. Because it was dark. Because someone kept fire burning. Group moves on. Case remains. Jar glows in museum light. Soil from Munich, Berlin, Austria, Geneva, and dozens of other places where Elsa Bergman refused to give up. Empty jar in 1945. Full jar in 2001. And between those two moments, 1,247 lives. 47 women who survived winter. One doctor who broke rules. One nurse who became doctor. And question that echoes through decades. How many train cars are sitting on tracks right now? How many people are waiting? And who will be brave enough to refuse? The jar holds no answer, only soil, only memory, only the stubborn insistence that some things matter more than regulations, that some lives are worth risking everything, that the space between rule and compassion is where humanity lives, and that sometimes the greatest act of resistance is simply refusing to let people die. The jar is full. But the work continues. It always continues.